Good morning, little chef. One of our guests on board has a cold, so I made some boiling water with eucalyptus essential oils to help open up her nasal passages. Then I'll get started on breakfast. I'm making cheesy scrambled eggs, cottage cheese drizzled with balsamic vinegar, and pumpkin seeds, and oatmeal. I set the table inside for breakfast, plated up all the food, and called the guests to the table. The guests decided to have a really low-key day today and watch movies on board. So that means we're doing a plated lunch service. I had sashimi-grade salmon in the fridge, so I decided on poke bowls. I sliced up some cucumbers and cabbage, and then cubed up my salmon and marinated it with some soy sauce and sesame oil. For the sushi rice, I made some short grain rice and threw in some salt, sugar, and rice vinegar. I went through all my freezers and refrigerators to find fresh produce or colorful foods to put onto this dish. If I had to pick one food to eat for the rest of my life, I think I would pick poke, or sushi, but it's essentially the same thing. For plating, I started off with a bed of the sushi rice, added some edamame, corn, and seaweed salad, cucumber, kimchi, which is not typical, but it needed to be used, and my cabbage. Big scoop of salmon, garnished with radish, black and regular sesame seeds, nori, spicy mayo, and eel sauce. I set the table for lunch and called the guests up to eat. I started to get those after lunch sleepies, so I made myself an espresso. For cocktail hour around 5 o'clock, I served up some white wine, garlic mussels, and crostini. While the guests were enjoying cocktail hour on the bow of the boat, I was in the galley working on dinner. I started off by making a Dijon tarragon cream sauce that I'll pour on top of the chicken and pasta. These chicken breasts were pretty big, so I sliced them in half and marinated them in some olive oil, salt, pepper, and a good amount of Italian seasoning. By cutting the chicken breasts in half, it's not only going to allow the marinade to seep into the chicken, but it's also going to cook faster. I'll steam my green beans, boil my pasta, and sear off my chicken to get that golden brown crust on the outside. For plating, I'll put down my buttered noodles, my seared chicken, green beans, and smother on that sauce. It was a little bit windy tonight and the guests wanted to eat inside, so we set the table, plated up the meal, and called the guests to the table. While the guests were enjoying dinner, I was in the galley making cream puffs. I am not a baker because I do not like to measure. The only dessert that I can successfully do every single time are coconut macaroons, and the owners love them. For the cream puffs, I started making a pat of dough, which is a unique dough. It has a lot of moisture in it. And when the dough goes into the oven, reaches 212 degrees, it turns into steam, it gets trapped within the little cream puff and creates a hollow inside that can be filled with pastry cream. I used a syringe that was supposed to be used for adding juices into barbecue meats, but it worked perfectly with the pastry cream. They turned out okay. I would like to just state again that I am not a baker, so I sprinkled them with powdered sugar to make them look extra fancy, cleaned up the galley, and called it a night. Bye, little chef.